Tonight, it's one of the biggest risks we face in coming years. After a spate of high-profile cyber attacks, experts say too many organisations are failing to do enough to protect themselves.
I think a lot of this is really about just ongoing maintenance and renewal of the basic infrastructures we use day to day, and that's taken a backseat for too long.
Also making the headlines, a machete attack in an upmarket Edinburgh suburb leaves a man in hospital as a gangland feud escalates. Finally, a reduction in energy costs. The average bill will fall by £129, at least for the summer. In sport, will Brendan Rodgers make history and become the first Parkhead boss to win 3 trebles? We'll find out tomorrow at the Scottish Cup final.
And I'm at Fir Park with the latest after Motherwell boss Michael Wimmer quit after just 12 games in charge.
I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Experts in Scotland say the threat of cyber attacks is alongside climate change as one of the biggest risks we face in the years to come. In recent weeks, we've seen high-profile ransomware incidents targeting M&S, Co-op and West Lothian Council. STV News has been hearing of concerns many organisations may be lax about protecting themselves. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
Empty shelves in M&S made the impact of the cyber attack very public, an attack the company says may hit profits by £300 million. There's a strong theory over how it may have started, albeit not confirmed by M&S.
Well, the Marks & Spencer attack is an interesting one because it starts off with more of a traditional con, as in what we call social engineering. They contacted the IT support team, the IT help desk of Marks & Spencer's, called them up and actually asked them, impersonated a real user and asked them to change the password on an account and to disable what we call multi-factor authentication, an additional layer of identity verification on an account, and then they used that to log in.
The incident's been attributed to a hacking group called Scattered Spider. It uses ransomware software, Dragon Force, which scrambles data, making it unusable. This is a typical ransom note.
So a big part of the ransomware business model is for the victim to believe that if they pay money, they will get a tool to decrypt their systems so they can recover the systems, that they won't see their data published on the dark web or anywhere else.
West Lothian Council this week admitted it's had sensitive data stolen in a cyber attack. Experts say it's difficult to understand why local authorities would be a target.
Maybe the hackers don't understand that this is a public sector organisation and they wouldn't pay the ransom, and they just see vulnerabilities or whatever and they go after those vulnerabilities and they get into the council. Sometimes it is to cause destruction.
AI is making impersonation attacks easier. Edinburgh-based Lasting Asset is now using technology to help prevent them.
You know, if people can just get into the habit and it needs to become normal business practice, just double check who it is they are speaking with and reassure themselves that they are absolutely speaking to the right individual. I think it will just help bring trust back to voice calls and video calls.
And there's a warning all organisations need to take the basics more seriously.
I think there's a misconception that this is about militarised security, so we need to toughen our defences as hard as we can. I think a lot of this is really about just ongoing maintenance and renewal of the basic infrastructures we use day to day, and that's taken a backseat for too long.
M&S has said it may be July before it's fully back to normal. It continues to count the cost. Gordon Cree, STV News.
A man has been seriously injured in an alleged machete attack in an upmarket Edinburgh suburb amid an ongoing gang feud across the Central Belt. Detectives say they believe the incident was a targeted attack and are treating it as attempted murder, with the 54-year-old remaining in hospital. They're also tracking a grey Land Rover Discovery, which was seen carrying 4 or 5 men to the scene. Our reporter Lewis Mickey has more.
Well, police were called here to Pitcairn Grove in the south of Edinburgh shortly after 9 o'clock last night to reports of a serious assault understood to have involved a machete-style blade. A 54-year-old man remains in hospital, with detectives treating this as an attempted murder and a targeted attack. 4 or 5 men, all dressed in dark-coloured clothing and wearing balaclavas, got out of a grey-coloured Land Rover Discovery and attacked the man. Inquiries carried out have established the vehicle travelled eastbound along the M8, and detectives are keen to speak with anyone who may have seen it. Now, this is the third incident to take place here in the last few months, all of which police have linked to several other events which have been ongoing in the east and west of the country, all understood to be related to gangland activity. More than 30 arrests have now been made in a major investigation from Police Scotland, which earlier this month saw several dawn raids carried out. Now, this is a bloody and violent feud which doesn't show any signs of calming down anytime soon. Lewis Mickey, STV News, Edinburgh.
Now, finally, some good news on the cash front. After repeated increases, the latest energy price cap means the cost of an average bill is to go down by £129. Standing charges for electricity and gas are coming down too. The reduction comes as new figures show almost 400,000 households in Scotland are in energy debt or arrears. Vanessa Taff reports.
Whether it's hot or cold, the cost of a little treat isn't coming down.
Can I get an ice gingerbread latte?
But it's a bit of a boost to hear at least one bill is.
I think it has gone up too much in a while, so anything down to positive.
We need to look at what we're paying out, you know, for people buying houses as well, do you know, how we're meant to live in this economy.
Feels like everything's gradually going up. Obviously moving into a bigger house with a bigger family, more rooms, the heating is a lot worse, and all the showers and stuff.
This coffee shop offers freshly baked items and roasts their own organic coffee, all of which uses a lot of energy.
The cost of living and cost of doing business has been going up. Me being in the coffee industry, bean prices and my raw materials aren't getting any cheaper, so I'll take wins where I can. So the news this morning was welcome. That being said, I did fix my energy bills last week and I got a good rate because we roast coffee on site and we do the baking on site. We do use a lot of electricity.
The energy price cap sets a maximum cost a supplier can charge for a unit of energy. From July 1st, it will fall by 7%, meaning the average bill will fall by £129. Standing charges, which is the price you pay for your connection of gas and electricity, are also coming down. For every £100 you currently spend on your energy bills from July until September, it'll come down to around £93. But as the energy price cap changes every 3 months, customers are being urged to seek out a fixed tariff for the best value. The cost of covering higher bills has taken a toll.
Nearly 400,000 households in Scotland are experiencing some form of energy debt and arrears, and that's obviously a real concern because the money that people have to spend to pay off that debt means they won't have that available to buy other goods and services.
When we actually want to see a price drop is in winter time. We want to see that happen in autumn so that prices are low over winter and that very dark and cold period for Scotland, which is 6 months of our year when energy use is at its highest. Right now, it makes less difference.
The cap will be reviewed again in August, with prices predicted to rise.
So Vanessa, will this provide some relief for people's bills?
Well, anyone who's in massive amounts of energy debt, so say you've taken out a loan to cover a really high bill, will be trying to use these warmer summer months to get their bills down and to clear off some of that debt. But you still have to pay the standing charge, even if you don't use any energy, so it's worth keeping that in mind as well. You also don't really have a lot of choice of who your provider is either if you're in a massive amount of debt. And similarly, if you have a prepayment meter, you can shop around for a bargain. So overall, while we all love to hear this good news of, oh, our bills are coming down, actually, despite the announcement today, they're still 10% higher than they were this time last year.
Vanessa, thank you. A former Lord Provost of Glasgow has admitted stalking his former partner. Philip Bratt pled guilty to a single charge against a woman at a property near Glasgow between July and September 2024. Court papers showed the 49-year-old refused to accept the end of the relationship and had been ordered to stop contact. Bratt represented the Anderston City and York Hill ward and became Provost in 2020. A man has been arrested after entering a hospital armed with a crossbow. Police were called to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow early this morning. A 29-year-old man has since been arrested. Specialist firearms officers and the hospital atrium was closed for a short time. No one was injured in the incident. Well, as you heard earlier, cyber attacks have led to empty shelves in stores across the country. In most places, customers were able to shop elsewhere, but in remote communities, that's not always an option. Residents in the Highlands and Islands say essential supplies to lifeline stores must be prioritised, and they want robust contingency plans to be put in place for the future. Hannah Carmichael has this report from the Isle of Islay.
It's the start of Feishila, a festival celebrating Islay's whisky and heritage. The island's population is expected to quadruple over the next week, so it's a relief that the local co-ops are starting to get some supplies back in. But getting to this point hasn't been plain sailing. Liz has just turned 80 and is disabled. She can't leave her house to do her shopping, so she depends on the co-op's home delivery service. With nothing on the shelves, that service was forced to stop, leaving her having to find other ways to source food.
I was completely abandoned. I had nothing. My son, who lives in the mainland, went to the village in which he lives and did a great big shop and put it in a box, put it in the post office, and it was delivered here by Royal Mail, which cost a fortune. So in some ways I've been a bit protected. But I don't think that's the case for everyone.
Further down the island, Ian has been preparing his 2 restaurants for their busiest period. He prefers to buy fresh foods locally, so the shortages put extra heat on his kitchens.
Totally frightened me because I went into the co-op one day and it was full, and go 24 hours later and there's nothing because everyone panic buys, there's nothing coming in, and we just can't move. If we didn't have the local shops, we were stuffed, totally and utterly stuffed. If we solely relied on the co-op, which is a shame, one wee blip in the close.
So what's ahead for us?
It's been a few weeks now since the co-op was hit by the cyber attacks. And in that time, staff in stores like the ones here in Islay have worked tirelessly to try and get things back on track. The question residents across the Highlands and Islands are asking now is what plans can be put in place to avoid disruptions like this in the future.
I think head office could have maybe thought of the islands a bit more. I would like to think that they'll have methods in the future that if anything crashes that they have an alternative system that can be used to bring stock to particularly rural places.
We do need a bit of additional support. If one thing goes wrong, we are exposed. There needs to be an understanding with the decision makers in the central belt that our life is different here, and there needs to be a recognition of that.
In a statement, the co-op says it takes responsibilities to island stores and communities very seriously and classes them as lifeline stores. It adds it prioritised supplies to these locations and is now in the recovery phase, which means there will continue to be improved stock availability. But for islanders here, all they want is a guarantee their concerns about resilience are being heard. Hannah Carmichael, STV News on the Isle of Islay.
The cruise industry is already worth many millions of pounds to the Scottish economy. But could there be a better way for local communities to benefit? Inverclyde is one area looking at introducing a cruise ship levy, with cash used to improve the region for locals and tourists. Rahim Cham has been to Greenock to speak to those affected.
So everything from the United States, all over the United States, right over, we've got people from Australia and right up from right at the top at the Russian border.
Since opening, Marie has kept a map highlighting how far visitors have come from all corners of the globe to her knitting shop.
£2.80, please.
But she says the launch of the new Greenock terminal means thousands of cruise ship passengers are now skipping past.
When the terminal wasn't built yet and they were using container terminal for customers to come in, and everybody walked along the main street in Greenock. Now, as you might be able to tell, there's very few blue and white dots that are from the other years because the tourists now come off at a different area and they don't walk along our main street anymore. And that has really hit the businesses.
Justina's Cafe suffered the same fate. But the ongoing government consultations on a cruise ship passenger levy will mean local authorities will now have the power to impose a fee per passenger and plough the money back to support local businesses.
If
Inverclyde Council was getting the benefit of the money that was coming directly from these passengers, and it was invested in the local area to keep people in Greenock, then yes.
Amongst the 80 cruise liners docking at Greenock this month is the Regal Princess, carrying over 4,000 passengers. About 1,000 cruise liners docked at Scottish ports last year, bringing 1.2 million passengers and contributing an estimated 130 million to the economy.
Morning. Where are you going today? We're going to Glasgow.
When asked about the levy, passengers say they are already paying enough.
If it means it's going to increase
the
our
prices?
price of fares, that'll be a bit of a challenge.
It'll affect the tourist industry.
Well, it doesn't sound like a good idea. It'll raise our rates if we want to come back on a cruise ship.
No. We're already paying enough.
No, I wouldn't want to pay it, but if it happens, it's okay with that.
Inverclyde Council, who've agreed to the levy in principle, say any funds gathered will boost the local economy. However, a spokesperson from Cruise Scotland say it will deter future cruise traffic.
The Scottish Government's ongoing cruise ship levy consultations has sparked a lively debate, reflecting both optimism and concern across the community. But what remains clear is the vital role that tourism plays in Inverclyde's local economy. As the consultations come to an end on the 30th of May, striking that balance between supporting local businesses and protecting community economies remains crucial. Rahim Cham, STV News, Greenock.
Time now for sport, and Rahman is at Hampden ahead of Scottish football's showpiece event of the season tomorrow.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Spring Sale.
A very good evening from Hampden, where tomorrow Celtic and Aberdeen will be competing for this famous trophy in the Scottish Cup final. We'll look ahead to the final very soon, but first, Michael Wimmer has quit as Motherwell manager after just 3 months in charge, citing family reasons. He's heading back to Germany to join third-tier club SSV Jan Regensburg. From Fir Park, here's Ollie Dickinson.
Well, this news has come as a complete shock. When Michael Wimmer joined Motherwell, his first task was to keep them in the top flight, and that's something that he, of course, achieved. And many here were looking forward to see what the German could do once he had built more of his own squad, but they won't get the chance to do that because he has now gone. In a statement, the club said Wimmer explained the reasons for wishing to accept the new role were predominantly due to major family issues that have recently arisen in Germany. Following extensive conversations with Michael, the club very reluctantly negotiated a compensation package with SSV Jan Regensburg. Wimmer himself thanked the club, saying he had found himself in an extremely difficult position. He apologised to the Motherwell fans, adding, "I need to put my family first and be with them." Well, STV Sport understands that Motherwell made repeated attempts to get Wimmer to stay, but he has chosen to go, and that he was well liked at the club. The search for a new manager has already begun, and we understand that there is a list of potential names given how recent an appointment Wimmer was. Now, many here had braced themselves to potentially lose star player Lennon Miller over the summer. To have lost their manager has come as a complete surprise. Ollie Dickinson, STV Sport, Fir Park.
Some big news at Motherwell there. Now to tomorrow's Scottish Cup final, and Brendan Rodgers has the chance to create history by becoming the first Parkhead boss to win the treble on 3 occasions. As for Aberdeen, well, they're hoping to end an 11-year wait to lift silverware. We'll hear from their manager Jimmy Tilleen shortly, but first, Ronnie Charters has the very latest from the Celtic camp as they look to successfully defend a trophy they won in dramatic fashion last season.
Paulo Bernardo with the shot, Butland saves, but there is Adamina!
Celebrations that will live long in the memory of every Celtic fan.
Quite the picture. Celtic, Scottish Cup winners.
And now, 12 months on, they have the chance to lift the trophy again.
Going to Hampden, it's such an iconic stadium. It's what we're judged on you know, when our time is done here, people will look back on it and what you achieved and whatever. But yeah, getting up in the morning of the game is clearly it fills you that excitement, the anticipation of how the game might go, and ultimately you want to win it.
Celtic head into the Hampden showpiece against Aberdeen tomorrow, having not lost to the Dons in 7 years. This season, the champions have scored 19 goals against Jimmy Tillene's side in 5 games, winning 4 of them. For record signing Arne Engels, clinching the treble would be the cherry on top of a dream first season at the club.
You dream of coming here and to win trophies, and to end up this year with already 2 trophies in the bag, it's amazing, and to hopefully get another one, that would put everything perfect actually. So it's up to us to now grab the trophy and hopefully win the treble then.
Now, with the club on the cusp of their 9th domestic treble, fans are confident their team can create yet more history.
As we've done it quite a lot recently in a recent past, so it should be easy enough tomorrow.
I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be about 4-5-0.
Come on,
treble is on the way.
Aye, confident.
Aye. Very confident.
What gives you the confidence?
That's just because they're a brilliant team, eh?
So the stage is set as Celtic target a domestic clean sweep. The Premiership Trophy and the League Cup already residing here in the Parkhead Trophy Room. And tomorrow, Brendan Rodgers and his players will be doing their utmost to make sure the Scottish Cup returns here come Saturday night. Ronnie Charters, STV Sport at Celtic Park.
Well, despite Aberdeen's abysmal record against Celtic this season, their manager Jimmy Tillene is confident and says there's a real belief within their squad that they can return to Aberdeen with this trophy. It's 35 years since Aberdeen got their hands on the famous trophy when they defeated Celtic on penalty kicks. Tomorrow's match will be the first final of Tillene's managerial career.
It's not every year you're on the final. I think it was 7 years last time we were in the Scottish Cup final, and it's always trying to enjoy this moment, to try to catch this moment, and all the players and the staff, we have a strong belief and a shared belief that we can do a really well performance on Saturday and give us a chance to win this one.
Well, as if by magic, the Men's Scottish Cup has gone and the Women's Scottish Cup has arrived. That's because Glasgow City faced Rangers in the Women's Scottish Cup final on Sunday, and City have announced that that match will be Joe Love's last of her City career. Love has spent 14 years at the club and is aiming to end her career with them on a high. Holders Rangers are targeting another trophy after winning the League Cup earlier in the season.
If we'd have won a treble, I'd have said that would have been unreal, it would have been out of this world. We were so close, but it wasn't meant to be. So we've got to make sure that we're going after a cup double, and you know, we've got 3 trophies in under 2 years right now, and we won another one, and we've got to make sure that we're doing our best to get that.
This club is synonymous with lifting trophies, and it's something that we pride ourselves on in terms of being in the latter stages of competitions and being up there fighting right till the end. So of course any trophy lift is special. The Scottish Cup in itself is a special competition, especially to the Scottish players and staff. It's something that we've grown up with.
That, folks, is just about all of the sport for me, live from Hampden ahead of the Scottish Cup final weekend.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Spring Sale.
Well, Philip has the weather, and you might want to look away.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening of pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. Well, today has been the last hurrah of the high pressure that's been dominating our weather over the past few weeks. That's kept things fairly fine, dry and settled. As we head into the weekend, unfortunately, it will be all change. We'll see our weather turning changeable and unsettled. Tonight, we've got the arrival of this low pressure from the northwest, and that will push in a series of frontal systems across the country, bring with it wet and windy conditions. So we start to see the arrival of this first frontal system as we head into the overnight period. Already the cloud is thickening from the west. That front will bring with it a band of quite heavy and persistent rain. It moves eastwards quite quickly overnight thanks to the winds picking up pace. Temperature-wise, not dropping too far, a fairly mild night to come. Lows of around 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. So looking ahead to Saturday morning, a very damp and soggy start to the day for many of us. That main band of rain will clear eastwards, then it's followed by scattered showers throughout the course of the afternoon. Anywhere that we see any drier spells, there will be a lot of low cloud, mist and murk around, and it is a fairly muggy day to come too, as our temperatures are still reaching highs around 18 or 19 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead to Sunday, a very similar day to come. Further scattered showers feeding in from the west. They will be quite heavy, possibly thundery throughout the course of the afternoon, and temperatures reaching highs of 14. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, three brothers from Edinburgh who are rowing the Pacific say morale remains high as they officially reach the middle of nowhere. Ewan, Jamie and Lachlan McLean are now 40 days into the 9,000-mile expedition and closer to the International Space Station than land. That's quite incredible, closer to the International Space Station. That's all from us tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Good night.